just for some sort of depth, I am the 5th American Renzo Gracie Jiu-Jitsu black belt in the world. And I started Jiu-Jitsu in 1994 after the second UFC. And I feel as though I've been fortunate enough to have great teachers, both in my karate life, as well as my jiu-jitsu life. And it's been my goal to kind of incorporate some of the same kind of philosophies, the crossovers. And with that, I want to talk today a little bit about my belief in the underhook as it relates to standing grappling. And what my hope is to bridge the kata with stand-up grappling and give you 3 or 4 movements that you can apply to your, maybe your understanding of kata. I don't want to be presumptuous there. And definitely your sparring and or bunkai. Okay, so thank you again. I would also like to just thank Mark for being the uke today. Let's give him a nice hand clap, please. You know, Mark, is briefly, like, I understand the word uke to mean the receiver. And I just want to shift that a little bit. Because you're receiving the technique today, we all receive the information. And I want to say thank you for that. I know it to be the most profound position in the classroom. So really thank you for your attention to that matter. Okay, so thank you again, everyone. And I would like you to find a partner, someone you're going to work with, and then we can just, you know, have some space, and then we'll begin. So partner up, please. And I'm not sure, but I don't think you're going to need your lanyard, so you might want to take it off. Okay. The other thing I want to, before we start, I want to invite you to be very relaxed about the practice. I want to invite you to just do the movements in such a way that you're, rather than feeling it be aggressive or like you gotta, just relax and have a good time with it. And then you can apply those more firmer principles, if you will, later on. Okay, so what I understand about sparring, what I understand about combat, and what I understand about stand-up jiu-jitsu, if you will, is that it's very important to manage the inside lines. That when you're dominating the inside position, that it's very difficult for your opponent, the uke or the person you're training with, to dominate you, okay? And so we're gonna work from this standpoint. And the reason I'm choosing this entrance is because I believe, I don't know Sanshin and I don't know Seiru, but I believe I see some movements in here that are bridging the inside position or giving information on the inside position. So we're gonna start in a kamae, we're gonna start in a kind of kamae position or a combat position, and Tori, you're going to advance forward, elbows in, and you're going to control the inside position 1. Now we're going to move to what I believe is one of the strongest grappling points, which is the underhook. From here, we're going to slip one hand. In this case, it's my right hand, and I'm going to slip it. We're going to slip it to the inside shoulder, and if you note, it's an underhook, and we're going to use our head as a post. I was working with Bill, and he was saying about a wedge in the kata, that you have a strong wedge and a strong frame. And I believe this to be the same thing. Mark, push into me, please. Yeah, this is a wedge that is now working to my benefit. So once again, we're going to start in a kamae. Uke, you'll just place your hands up. Tori, you'll feed inside and dominate the inside lines. I'm not grabbing, but more hooking on. And now we'll slip, in this case, my right hand under. Mark is doing a nice job of just feeding over my shoulder, and we'll wedge our forehead into the neck. I like to think of this as like a hand, a post. It's a very, very effective position to work from. One more time. Thanks, Mark. So we feed in, we dominate the inside line, we slip to the underhook, and we wedge our head inside. Okay? So I'd like you to go with your partner, 1 for 1, back and forth. Please begin. Okay, it's got kamae. I'm not starting too close. I want you to have the feeling of covering the distance a tad. And then remember that I understand that this, what Renzo Gracie calls the monkey grip, is a very effective and very strong grip. Rather than a kind of biting grip or hooking or I don't know, like a C-clamp grip. I don't know this to be as strong. So when you come in, remember it's bicep, not shoulder. It's bicep and it's a hooking action, okay? Bill was talking about like thinking about weights on my elbows. That's the feeling. You're dragging your partner down. And then you slide to the underhook and you're right here. Okay, a couple more, please, go. So you're doing great, everybody. Cover the inside line, slip to the underhook. This point about taking a step over. When you slip to the underhook, I'm not center line with my partner. I'm not center line with my partner. This is a bit of a problem for me. But rather when I slip to the underhook, we're off angle here. Now, from this step, in this occasion, Mark is not checking me. So there's nothing preventing me from going the back. We're going to give a little bump out and come to a seatbelt back position, an attack on the back. What I want you to understand here is 2 things. That a grappler, when he's dealing or she's dealing with a striker, fundamentally will try to get to your back every single time. Because the human body is not meant to defend itself from this angle. It is not, we are not designed to defend ourselves from the back. And anybody worth their salt in grappling understands that. And they get to your back because you're vulnerable. So having an understanding from Mark's perspective is great. It's part of this equation. And then having an understanding of how to slip to the back as a safety measure. I'm slipping to the back. If I'm a striker, okay, you're out. So we're going to give a little shoulder shrug. You're doing great, Mark. We're going to give a little shoulder shrug. The shoulder comes out, and we shuck under. Now we're going to roll to the back and find a 10-finger like grip, a kind of cable or gable grip. 10 fingers locked, no thumbs, 10 fingers locked. So you'll start, dominate the inside line, take a step, cut that angle off, get the underhook, wedge your head. There's no check, so you bump and ride to the back. And we're going to come to a 10-finger position. Okay, continue, please. Not upright and hugging his center. This, he's going to chuck me. He's got an option to throw me very hard from here. So what I'd like you to do is when you come around the corner, lower and dominate the hip. And you're going to see why in a moment. So note the body position as it relates to Mark here. I'm not up and hugging. I'm not like lining up my spine with his, because any movement he makes now, I'm going to follow him. But rather we're dropping low and controlling the hip rather than the sternum. Continue. Mr. Miyazaki, my teacher, when I was 18 years old, I asked him, I said, "Sensei, do you meditate?" And he said, "Yeah, I do karate. That's my meditation." And I want to invite you to kind of look at this practice as a kind of moving meditation with your partner. If you break the meditation, I think you're robbing yourself and your partner of something. We can chat, we can help each other, and there can be a continuous momentum of practice. I want to invite you to try that, okay? And then next is, we're going to add on here. So we bump out, we make it to the back. Everybody, I want you to see there's a long arm and a short arm. The long arm is moving across Mark's hip. And then there's a short arm, which is going to cut into Mark's hip. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the short arm as a lever, and we're going to circle our partner right down to the floor. So, come this way, man. You're doing great, thank you. We dominate the inside line. We take that step over, we get the underhook, and we post. No, there's no response. There's no check on his part. Not a good look for him. You're on the back now. Remember, you're not, turn please. You're not center line with your partner. This is your partner's spine, the center line. You're off center. We're coming around the hip. Remember, long arm, short arm. Short arm is palm up. I'm not muscling Mark. What I'm doing is torquing his hip. I'm taking his hip out of line, and then I'm using my legs to spiral him to the floor. This is not a muscle move. It's a technical spiral. That's what you're doing. Or that's what I'd like you to be doing. Dominate the inside line. Come to the underhook. Shuck. Go to the back, long arm, short arm. Short arm cuts into the hip, and your legs do the rest. You're just holding the hip in place and spiraling him or her down. Continue, please. Today's lesson is about the underhook. It's about this. Everything is out of this. So please do not lose sight of this. This, and this are all the seatbelt underhook position. So I need you, when you're moving through the position, to establish, this and to feel your way around this. Make your body a little strong, please. I was telling these young men over here that if someone does not know what to do specifically with this grip, they're going to get their ass kicked. There's a big problem as it relates to grappling and striking. So that's why I chose it for you, because it's very effective. And as soon as your head is inside, push into me, Mark. Go away from me, Mark. He's got problems. He's very limited, or she's very limited. So all that being said, focus a little bit on the underhook rather than being in a rush to get to the back. Everything is off the underhook today. Continue. Let me give you 2 points. You're doing very well. One is, I want you to shrug her, and then when you come long arm, short arm is palm up. Can you see me? Short arm is, this one's palm up. Yep. Make your body a little strong, please. Yep. I cut you in. You feel that?
Yeah.
Okay, you're not going to go that hard on her,
right? But
you should have that notion.
Is it more this pressure or the elbow?
May I? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm sitting it on your hip. I'm rolling your hip back with the forearm. That's correct. Okay, so one point about this is when you get to the back, if I keep my hips close to him, I'm actually blocking him from falling. What I would like you to do is create a little space, a little hole for your partner to fall into. So you look, if I'm here, this is muscling. We don't want that. When you're ready to go, back out, create a little space for them to fall into. You see, I'm constantly creating this hole here for him to fall into. Continue. Let's talk about if he checks the access point to the back. And this technique is called the whizzer in wrestling or in jiu-jitsu. So we're going to enter the same way. By the way, I love that everybody innately understands dominating the inside line. Also that, Mark, just try to punch me with either hand. Hard, yeah. It's really very, very, very problematic for him. You score the underhook. We're working on the underhook. We're working on this head wedge. Everybody look. You see this? This is really important here. Okay, he has some experience now. So what does he do? He wraps his hand. Now there's no more access to the back. I just want to give you this. He's not trying to wrench my shoulder, and he's not trying to like snap my elbow. He's just checking me. He moves his pawn in front of the rook, and there's no more check. All he's doing is moving his pawn into place. When we see that, we're going to use the underhook. We're going to make our partner square. We'll backstep and stab. I told you, don't do what I was thinking. And now we're going to look at Toyotoshi. You have the choice. You can stop here because the mat, the room is not padded, or you can just, I got you, Mark. You can just lightly throw your partner. That's up to both of you. I'm going to give you that option. So we're inside. We dominate with the underhook. We get that wedge, and they check. Uke, receiver, you're going to check. You're going to now bring your piece into play. I have no more access to the back. We pull and square our partner up. We take a little step and we stab across. I'm not hip throwing, Mark. One of the values of, and one of the reasons we chose this throw is because there's limited access to my back. If I turn my back to Mark to try to throw him and he snatches my neck, I'm screwed. You're screwed. Sorry, the Brooklyn's coming out of me. So, they don't curse in New Hampshire, do they? So, look, it's a step and a stab. I got you, Mark, trust me. So you see that rotation? My judo instructor, whose dad was a direct student of the founder of Jiu-Jitsu, Mr. Shiina, said that Toyotoshi is a hand throw. So when you step across, your work is your hands. Your hands do the work on this action. Okay? So, one last time. We dominate the inside line. We step, we get the underhook, we post. They bring the whizzer into play. You square your partner up, backstep, and you can stop here. It doesn't take much. Or you can finish with your hands. I'm easing him down. It should be pleasurable. Okay, let's go. Thank you, everyone. May I give you one point here? When it's time for me, when he checks me, when there's no more back access, and I square him up, the entrance is a back step. I'm putting the emphasis on back step. Some of you are trying to bring your hips across. It's not wrong. It's a hip throw. It's a goshi. Great technique, but not what we're doing. And I'll tell you why I chose Tayo. Because you don't age out of Toyotoshi. You may age out of a goshi. My shoulder's tight as hell. My knees are tight. I don't get under him well. And then he just pushes me back. I'm going to fly. Tayo does not have the same property. You don't get, my opinion, I haven't gotten aged out of it yet, is that you don't have the same issues. You're just driving your leg across. The rest is hands. There it is, Mark. Beautiful. So when it's time to go, and Sensei brought it up so perfectly, she's like, I think hip throw. And Mr. Shiina knew that. He was like, no, it's hand throw. It's hand throw. Back step, stab. Continue, please. Come to whizzer and relax. Relax a lot. Okay. So, relax. My Tayo, the back step. His feet are making a line. Can you see this imaginary line? What I'm basically aiming for is a third foot on that line. So here's what I'm aiming for. Bop. Don't move. You see it? Don't move. Don't move. Please. You're ruining my masterpiece. You see it? Okay, so it's a cue. It's a physical cue. I don't always get there. Sometimes I'm a little shallow and I go underneath. That's fine. But you have something that you're aiming for. You're doing great. So you're here. You pulled them. You're in position. Your objective is to try to line the 3 feet up. That's where your back step is. Stay there, baby. Your back step is coming onto this line. if you can. Continue. We got about 10 minutes left. So remember what I said about the back, that there's a hole that gets created for your partner to fall into? My feeling is the same with Tayo, and I'm going to tell you what I mean. Is that, okay, when I backstep, if I come up high, just like I was on the back, I'm going to block him from getting thrown. I get stuffed, is one way to put it. Relax, baby. I got you. When we backstep, watch this. Drop. Don't do it for me, man. Don't do it for me. They need to see it, babe. Thank you. Relax. Okay, don't move. It's a drop. There's a hole now for him to fall into or her to fall into. You see it? It's very similar in that way from the back. Let go of the whizzer. If I stay close, I stuff my technique. You stuff your technique. When you give a little space, there's a hole for them to fall into. The same idea is here. Like, I'd like you to feel that there's like this, I don't think it's a vacuum. It's like a big hole. Whoop! That's kind of the best way I can describe it. There's a big hole for him to fall into or her to fall into. Continue. Okay. So when you come here and he checks or she checks with the whizzer, I'm not literally walking backwards. I think about moseying him backwards. Make your body strong. He's getting out of position. He's squaring up to me. So now look at my foot position as it relates to Tayo. I'm not tangling myself up. It's right in. You're not tangling yourself up. Walk your part, mosey them back. I think that's probably, this kind of step is in your kata, right? In our kata. It is, right? Somewhat like that, right? Continue. My idea, your idea is Tayatoshi, right? This hand-leg technique. So he checks. I have that information. You have that information. So when you move your partner back, this stabbing leg stays in play. Look at this leg as it relates to Mark's body. We start pulling, it's in play, rather than taking it out of play. Then you've got to do this, this, and this. He made the mistake by trying to fight you. So he's going to continue to make mistakes. That's his mentality. Let him or her. Mosey, mosey, mosey. It's right there. One or two more, please. We started out by discussing what I believe is the importance of the inside position as it relates to self-defense and how it's embedded in the kata. Then we talked about the major lesson of today's class was the development of your underhook as it relates to sparring and self-defense, and the importance of inside and an underhook dominant, an idea of underhook dominance, okay? Then we discussed that if there's no block, that one of the very best places we can be in a fight is on the back. You have a choice, stay there, man. You have a choice to disengage, and you also have choice, which we gave you today, which is this kind of hip torque down to the floor. We also looked at what would happen if we came across someone that kind of had some ideas here and checked that idea. And we looked at bringing us back in front for Tayatoshi. All the while, your ability to disengage is present. So I hope you found that valuable. I want to say thank you so much. What a lovely class. It's my pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Hope to see you next year.